Now, can you tell me about how you transitioned from just being a lowly screenwriter to now being a writer director of a new film?
Well, yeah, it's so funny because in features, yes, the writers are like
Lowly. And
they're
TV, not so much, but yes.
TV. Yeah, started working in TV recently. I'm like, I've been missing out on the party. Like the good stuff is in TV. Oh my God. Um, but it's funny. Like I had a couple projects that I said I have to direct these because if I give them away, I already know how people are going to change them, and these are things I want to direct. And when I first went out with Good Samaritan, I just went out with it as a project. I didn't go out with the idea of me directing. But the thing with this story is, you're not sure if it's a supernatural force that's after them, or if it's a killer that's after them, or if it's all in the main character's head because she's had some trauma in her past. And every place that wanted to do the movie was like, just make it straight up supernatural, or just make it a straight up killer, and then we'll do it. And I'm like, but that's not the story I want to tell. Like that's kind of the easy story to tell. Like I want to tell something a little different. So I realized that if I wanted to do this movie the way that I wrote it, then I would have to direct it myself. And I'd been on enough sets, and have been in the business long enough that I knew the basics. And I directed a short in a like an indie music video for a friend. So, I knew the basics, but you definitely don't know what you don't know until you actually get on a set and start directing yourself. So, that was some hubris on my part, thinking, well, I've been on a lot of sets and I did a short, so I'm ready. Um,
That's
so,
awesome.
but I have to say it was like such, now that we're done, it was such a fulfilling experience, and it was such a learning experience too, because now I know the areas that I need to fill in that I didn't know before. Um, so I'm excited to do it. I'm glad that I did it. It was, again, and my director friends were like, well, trust me, when you direct your first feature, you'll either be like, screw that, I'm never directing again, or you'll want to do it again. So I definitely want to do it again. But yeah, the reason for me doing it was out of necessity of not wanting them to change, the story into like just a straight up supernatural movie or a straight up, slasher movie. Um, and it's, like I mean, this definitely didn't have anywhere near the budget of Final Destination, but like Final Destination, it was a concept where the people that wanted to do it were like, well, it's not horror supernatural enough to sell it as a horror movie. And if we sell this as a thriller, then you need A-list stars. So we have to get A-list stars attached. So there, that all that business kind of crap that came up with, even with Final Destination, where they're like, oh, you can't do something that's not easily put in a box. Just kind of motivated me to like do it myself.
Yeah, because you were trying to go down the road with the film like traditionally, like go to the studios, try to get financing, do it a little bit, do it the normal way. But you kept getting so much stuff, so much resistance on your vision. You're like, well, screw it, let's just go do it indie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit about, first of all, the name of the movie, what the name of the movie is, and what is it about?
Oh, yeah. The movie is called Don't Look Back. It was originally titled Good Samaritan, so people might get confused about that, but it's called Don't Look Back. And it's about a group of people who see somebody getting fatally assaulted in a park, and they don't help. And one of the people I helped, and the video goes public. The victim's brother outs the witnesses, and somebody or something starts killing them. So our lead character is a woman named Caitlin who's gone through some trauma in her past, and she's convinced that something supernatural is after them. So she's trying to solve the mystery of who killed the guy in the park. And everybody else is like, there's a killer after us. And then she kind of ends up popping up at a lot of the scenes where the dead people are, because she's kind of seeing these supernatural signs around her that are pointing her into a direction of it's supernatural, but you're not sure if it's in her head or not. So, yeah, that was a bad elevator pitch because I kind of jumped around a little bit.
I can't. I'm gonna have to pass on this one. I can't.
Yeah.
But I can't finance this one, Jeffrey. I'm sorry.
Yes. Sorry, dude. That was like 5-6 sentences, and yeah. But yeah, it was a really fun film to make, and again, what was great for me too is I just had a lot of creative control. Like again, there were definitely areas like with locations and things like that where we had to compromise because we didn't have a budget to do certain things. But I got to work with a wonderful cast. Our lead, Courtney Bell, is a wonderfully talented black actress, and I got to find the best actress for the film, who was a black actress. Which if I'd done this with a studio, the people that they were throwing at me were not. They were like, and that's always that's been important for me for so long, because I've written diverse casts in my films before, and they always end up being cast with all white actors and actresses. And I just try to explain to people, because again, people, when you talk about diversity, it's again like certain, hackles start raising because people start getting like defensive. But it's more about, when people read scripts in Hollywood or they cast movies, their default for every character is a white actor or actress. So that's just the default for a leading, like, we'll send out a casting notice for leading ladies or leading men, and we'll say, all ethnicities, and 99% of the submissions will be white actors and actresses. And even if we send out, notes saying we're looking for black actors and actresses, they'll send us a lot then, but then, they're still throwing in more white people at us, being like, look at these people first. So for certain roles, people of color are just not in people's brains, even the casting people's brains,
Right.
When it comes to leading roles. And so we're starting to course correct that now, but it is frustrating when they cast like, white actors and actresses in roles that were written for people of color. And they always say, well, we just went with the best person. But I've been in the rooms with people casting projects, and their thinking is what is going to be the most palpable to people across the United States and across the world. And that's why they make that decision most of the time. So now we're seeing that course corrected a little bit. And I've just seen so many wonderfully gifted, lead talented actors and actors of every race, white, Latino, Asian, black. There's so many talented people that just giving people an opportunity that, like Courtney would not have been cast as a lead in a horror film if it was done by a studio. But I think when people see her performance now, they're going to be like, holy shit, who is this girl? So I'm really excited about that.